Hello and welcome to the Third Sector podcast. I'm Lucinda Rouse, and this week we're at the Chelsea Flower Show to bring you a flavour of the 11 charity gardens on show here, financed by the grantmaker Project Giving Back. From Parkinson's UK to Trussell and the Back Conservation Trust to YoungMinds, we'll be asking what a platform like the Chelsea Flower Show can provide to the participating charities. We'll also be reflecting on some bigger questions about philanthropy. There's certainly not a shortage of money at this type of event, and we'll be asking how more of it can be unlocked for voluntary organisations. This is the fifth and final year that Project Giving Back will be sponsoring gardens for good causes, and I sat down with Chief Executive Hattie Ghaui to reflect on its legacy. So Project Giving Back has had a huge presence and a huge impact on Chelsea over the past 5 years. How many gardens have you done?
As of this year, we'll have funded 63 gardens over the 5 years. It's been an immense project, and I think the thing I'm so proud of is that all of them now, I can say, are being relocated to every single nation in the UK. So we've even got a Northern Ireland relocation this year, which I'm so excited about. When I look at the map and I look at all of the gardens that have relocated across all of these different sites, from the south of England all the way up to kind of the most furthest reaching point in Scotland, that's really the legacy, is all these community gardens that are going to now live on around the UK.
What are you most proud of as a funder in terms of all of the things that have been achieved over the past 5 years with this 60-something charities? For some, it's fundraising. For others, it's the exposure, the platform, the opportunity to engage with a quite particular demographic of the public. If there was sort of one thing that culminated it all.
I think something I'm very proud of. I mean, there are just the sort of like in plain stats, you know, we've calculated that over the 5 years now, the 60 gardens and charities we've supported have collectively raised more than £20 million. They've been featured in more than 7,000 media articles, and it's really just elevated a lot of smaller charities to a kind of national level. So I'm very proud of those things. But the thing I'm proudest of is the fact that they all live on after the show. You know, when we first came to Chelsea, that wasn't a requirement, that wasn't a rule that you had to relocate, and we made it a stipulation of our funding that if you were going to do a garden with us and with our funding, it had to have a legacy and a plan, and you know, it had to live on somewhere. And I'm really proud that that is now across Chelsea. That has to happen with every single garden that exhibits here.
And have you seen the needs of the charities that you've been funding change over the course of 5 years? I know that at the beginning it was coming out of COVID, and that was one of the motivators for setting up this project in the first place. But I don't think anyone would say that it's got any easier for charities. In fact, in a lot of cases, it's got much harder.
Yeah.
In terms of the priorities of the organisations that you've selected, have you seen them change at all, or is it everybody just kind of sees this as an amazing opportunity to get their charity out there?
I think there are some key things for charities that from the beginning remain true to today. So funding and trying to get cut through with your message, that has always been a challenge for charities, and how you tell your story is really difficult and challenging, but Chelsea has kind of given this opportunity for people to get creative with how they do that. I think something that I feel or suspect is probably an added pressure is that charities are now, they just have increased overhead costs because of things like national insurance increasing, and that means that you're having to kind of put a bit more pressure on the employees you do have. It's putting a bit more like tension in your organization. And I actually think events like this can really boost morale and bring people together and remind you of your purpose and kind of get you in front of people who tell you how amazing you are. And that's really good for an organization.
And the opportunity that Project Giving Back gives these organisations to have a platform, potentially some high net worth individuals will be seeing their garden and having an opportunity to chat with them. What would you say is kind of the special sauce that you offer in that respect, in terms of perhaps encouraging a big donation that might not have otherwise have come without the charity needing to specifically target that individual and say, help me, we really need more funding?
So Chelsea's this I sort of say to people that it really creates an atmosphere of generosity. I think there's something about being at Chelsea for the charity that puts them in this position of, we're successful, we're here on a global stage, and come and be a part of that success as one of our supporters, rather than the dynamic between them and a donor being like, oh, we're in desperate need, please help us. It's like, we're doing great things, and look, we've got supporters who back us to be at Chelsea, and we'd love to invite you to be a part of that. In my opinion, it changes how the ask is being made. And I think that makes all the difference when you're dealing with high net worth donors, because sometimes it's not even about the amount that you're asking for, it's just how and where you land the question. And so we have a lot of charities tell us that they might have been coaxing a conversation along with a high net worth donor, and it's Chelsea that closes it, or Chelsea that means that a week later someone puts pen to paper and actually writes that check that they've been promising for months.
So thinking about the intersection between philanthropy and the charity world, you're sitting right there, kind of straddling the two in your support of all of these charity gardens, whilst being in a place like Chelsea where there are a lot of potential philanthropists, existing philanthropists. If there was one thing that could stimulate more philanthropy, more money coming from wealthier individuals, businesses, etc., into the charity world, what would it be?
It's interesting because I chose to work in the intersection. I came from the world of startups and kind of marketing, and I wanted to kind of maintain that, try things might fail a little bit, iterate them, and keep kind of innovating with what you're doing. And I feel that it's an amazing environment that we have, because our charity sector is really well regulated and really governed very well, and that brings a lot of trust to it. But I think what the philanthropy world and what business leaders can bring to charities, and what charities should ask for or should engage with from those philanthropists and business leaders, is that kind of entrepreneurial attitude of, let's try things, let's push a venture forward, let's recognize that it might not be totally successful the first year, but we'll learn and then we'll build on it in the second year. That's what I've loved about this project Giving Back initiative that we've kind of experimented, is that the first year we did it, it wasn't perfect. And we've built on it each year, and we've talked to the charities about what they wanted to get out of it, and we've built in those learnings to each year that we've done. So I think it's on the charities to kind of speak the language of philanthropists a bit better and say, look, this is what we're trying to achieve, and can you help us experiment with some ideas around that? And I think it's on philanthropists to reach out to charities and ask them, like, what is it you wish you could do if you had enough money to do it? People can look at Project Giving Back and can say, look, actually there are ways of funding charities where you don't just have to give just funding to a charity. You can give them an opportunity. You can kind of push them to take a calculated risk to do something they wouldn't necessarily be brave enough to do. Like, putting themselves out here on the platform of Chelsea gets a charity out in front of lots of different people, but it can be quite daunting to do that with your own charity money. And I think that's the legacy, is we sort of hope that we've left a blueprint for people to be inspired by and be given confidence by.
And just going back to something you said before about things that you've learnt along the way, and adjustments that you've had to make since year one in response to feedback from charities. Could you give me any example of those?
So I think just little things that we've learned. We get feedback from charities and designers every year. And I remember in first year, we really bombarded them with a lot of documents and a lot of reporting requirements. And when we reflected on it, it was a lot of work for us and it was a lot of work for them. And we've always said, actually, it's much better if you just jump on a call and kind of go through the key points and get up to speed on that. So that was a big learning for us, is like not to overload a grantee with the work you're asking them to do.
And final question for you, why are you not carrying on anymore?
Well, it was only ever meant to be a 3-year project, and we extended it to 5. And I think it's time to kind of take a pause and step back. And sometimes charities or foundations can run forever without taking that pause to step back and be like, okay, we achieved what we wanted to achieve in those 5 years. Are there other things that those philanthropists want to do? So it's really about taking a breather and kind of analysing what the 5 years has achieved, and then, who knows?
The doors might not be closed forever.
You never know. Elton John had loads of farewell tours.
Much food for thought from Hattie Ghaui about how Project Giving Back could inspire other philanthropists and the charities they support to take risks and try out new things. I should have mentioned at the beginning that the RHS Chelsea Flower Show is itself a charity event, furthering the Royal Horticultural Society's mission to get the nation growing. And as we heard from Hattie, the two anonymous philanthropists who set up and funded Project Giving Back have opened up the showground for dozens of other charities working across a whole variety of cause areas. We're now going to hear from 4 of this year's charities and one of the garden designers about their Chelsea Flower Show journey.
My name's Matthew van Duyvenbode and I am co-chief exec at Trussell. We are sitting in Trussell's Together garden. It's been designed by Rob Hardy, and the clue's in the name. The theme of this garden is all around togetherness. And Rob's really drawn on his own experience of visiting food banks and talking with food bank staff and people who are coming to food banks about their own experiences. And so all throughout the garden there are different ways in which that theme of togetherness is woven through. So we've got the kind of reciprocal arch over here, which is a construction made of lots of beams of wood that support one another, and that's about communities coming together to support each other.
Yeah, they're almost like broom handles.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a tessellated shape, almost kind of bird's nesty, I guess. But it's that strength of coming together and mutual support. And it's sort of overhanging a kind of quiet reflective area, and that quiet reflective area is representative of the space that we want to offer to everybody who is coming to one of our food banks, to be invited in with a warm welcome, a cup of tea, a listening ear, and that offer of help and support.
Why did Trussell want to have a garden at Chelsea?
For us, it was a massive opportunity to be able to engage with all kinds of different audiences around our mission, and in particular to be able to translate our mission through the visual representation you see around you here and use that as a way of connecting with and kind of in a really immersive way inviting people to come and share in our mission together.
And is there anything that makes the Chelsea Flower Show particularly unique as an event for Trussell to participate in?
Yeah, an event like this is really prestigious, and I think for us in particular, one of our real goals about being here is around engaging with the wider public about how we want to work towards the end to the need for food banks. And so for us, being able to communicate through the kind of amplification of the media of an event like Chelsea is a really important kind of opportunity for us.
I'm Kit Stoner and I'm Chief Executive of the Bat Conservation Trust. So we're in Bat Conservation Trust's Nocturnal Garden, and the premise of the garden is that it attracts nocturnal insects, which all of our 18 UK bat species feed upon. We have a 4-metre high bat statue called Black Amber, who's the benevolent mother figure looking over the garden.
With gold eyes.
With gold eyes and glittery nose. And then we have a variety of plant species to attract a diversity of insects. So we have some like the ox-eye daisy, for example, which will attract some of the smaller flies, which some of our smaller bat species will like. And then we have foxgloves, which will attract moths, which some of our medium to large bats enjoy.
Wonderful. And why did you want to have a garden at Chelsea?
So we really wanted to raise awareness of bats, so the importance of the ecosystems that we all rely on, but also how simple it is to plant for bats. So there are really simple practical actions that people can take, like planting plants that will support nocturnal insects by using wildlife sensitive lighting. And it was just a perfect place to be able to demonstrate that to people and show them what they can do.
I'm Charlie Chase. I'm the garden designer for the YoungMinds garden. When I first got in touch with YoungMinds, I knew it was going to be an amazing collaboration. They had such energy and passion, and also their language, just in talking about mental health, really responded to me in terms of cutting through things, being really direct. A message from the charity was crushed by a million pressures, so we really ran with this actual metaphor, and so we made these boulder sculptures where we grew 2 enormous trees up through cracked boulder sculptures. So crushing through the pressures that young people are facing, and the trees are symbolic of just like hope and strength and resilience that young people are showing in the face of the mental health emergency.
I'm Abigail Ampofo and I'm the CEO of YoungMinds.
I know it's a huge amount of work on the charity side to get to this point, to standing here looking at this beautiful garden. Why did you consider it to be worth all of that hard work?
Because this has been an opportunity for young people to be able to form a community through creating the garden, that connection, that belonging, that creativity. And as one of the young people said, the ability to be able to touch green. And what's, I think, really important, alongside the positive mental health impact it had for the young people on the programme, this garden's going to move and it's going to have a permanent home in East London. So it continues to give back to the community and also continues to help with connection.
And thinking specifically about this event, what sets it apart from any other event that you've been involved with as a charity?
I think when we first started talking about whether we'd be involved in the Chelsea Flower Show, one of the things that came up for us was really how accessible is the Chelsea Flower Show to young people? How accessible is the Chelsea Flower Show to people with various different demographics? And I think being involved with it has shown us all that actually it can be accessible, and there's probably a bit more work to do to keep events like this accessible for a wide range of people.
And how do you think that this could be made more accessible?
I think by working with organisations like YoungMinds, we are out in those communities, and other organisations who do similar. How do you invite us in to think about how we co-create things together? Everybody who's worked with us has been absolutely amazing around that accessibility and inviting us in. I think one thing I'd definitely like to see is how does that happen in a more mainstream way? How does that stay being the legacy of Young Minds being involved?
If there was one thing that could be done to make it more accessible, would it be making the tickets cheaper? Would it be more active outreach to certain communities?
I think all of those things would be super helpful, but I think definitely the active outreach and thinking about designing how more people, and especially young people, people with mental health needs, are involved from each year's planning from the outset.
I'm Paul Jackson-Clark, the Director of Fundraising at Parkinson's UK. We're here on the Parkinson's UK, a garden for every Parkinson's journey garden.
And we are sitting underneath a beautiful wooden structure. Could you tell me what it is?
The beautiful wooden structure is our nightshade area. So Arit Anderson, who's our garden designer, has worked for the past 2 years with a group of people all living with and or affected by Parkinson's. And together with Arit, they came up with 8 design principles, one of which was a nighttime garden. So a place of refuge where people can go during nighttime and feel safe and secure in their garden or a garden. The reason for that being is that people with Parkinson's often suffer from sleep disturbances and insomnia. So a place of refuge at nighttime, rather than perhaps just sitting in the kitchen having a cup of tea, is really important to people with Parkinson's. There's a key feature, a water feature, the handrail that weaves its way like a stream meandering right through the garden. It's at sort of waist height, so people with Parkinson's who may be experiencing freezing, which literally means when they stop moving, can stand and hold on to something that's safe and secure. It's also a water feature, so it has water flowing through it, which acts as an audible cue, which can really literally trigger people out of being frozen. So it's a sensory feature that has a really practical application, helping people with a particular symptom of Parkinson's.
And you are in charge of fundraising at Parkinson's UK. Do you have any specific fundraising ambitions attached to your participation here?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably no secret that Project Giving Back have invested £500,000 in Parkinson's UK, being at Chelsea with our show garden. And so I've set the target and the expectation, the ambition, that Parkinson's UK will at least match Project Giving Back's investment in us, certainly within the year of 2026. I fully expect that we'll be reporting back that being at Chelsea has been a success in many, many ways, but also a financial success as well. We're launching a rose. It's the Parkinson's Resilience Rose that's been produced by Harkness Roses, and the sale of each rose, Parkinson's UK receives a donation of £5, and we've got the partnership with Harkness Roses for 3 years. We've also using Chelsea as a really key platform for bringing existing supporters to the flower show, some lapsed supporters, but also a large number of people who are new to Parkinson's UK, where through an opportunity to be on the garden and be at the flower show, we can talk more about Parkinson's UK and the work that we're doing, particularly in scientific research, in the wonderful, privileged, I think, environment of being at the Chelsea Flower Show. We've got a very, very densely planted garden, and it's required a huge army of volunteer gardeners to plant the garden, and time was not on our side. And at about 5 o'clock on the Friday, with literally hours to go to complete, a large group of other garden designers and charity reps descended and said, can we help? And that to me is a brilliant example of how the UK voluntary sector collaborates, works together, is not competitive, but is really looking out for each other and helping, and it happened to us in the build of the garden, so that was just fantastic.
I hope you enjoyed our jaunt around the RHS Chelsea Flower Show. We'll be back next week with our monthly editorial team meeting. From all of us at Third Sector, thank you so much for listening. Our producer is Jude Owen.